finger held to their foreheads in an L shape, trapped in a capitalist hellscape. Let's fight back and have some talks about class and the massive cost of the disastrous plots of fascists and Nazis, fat cats and fox. It's 1,000 natural shocks. A Bad with Money podcast.
Hello and welcome to 1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast. I'm your host, Gabe S. Dunn. With me today, we either have someone you've heard before or you might be hearing him for the first time. It depends on how I edit these. Jake, do you want to tell my audience who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Jake. This is my first or second appearance on the podcast. I'm an activist and an organizer in Los Angeles. I volunteer coordinate for the Working Families Party, and I'm a screenwriter, and I've been a screenwriter for 23 years.
We're going to talk about the Paramount merger. Can you start from the beginning and explain what is going on? Let's say someone's never heard of this.
Last August, Skydance, which is a company that's owned by David Ellison, son of Larry Ellison, who owns Oracle and has said he thinks we'd all be better off in a surveillance state. He wanted to buy Paramount, and the deal was not going through because Trump was upset about how 60 Minutes edited a Kamala Harris interview and was demanding a settlement. I think a couple days after Paramount donated, quote unquote, $16 million to Trump's presidential library fund, the deal was approved. So then Skydance owned Paramount. And that's when me and some friends started posting up outside Paramount every Wednesday to protest against that merger because it was a bribe. They bribed the president to approve a deal. So that was last year. That was the last disgusting merger that this government allowed to happen. And almost a year later, Paramount is trying to buy Warner Brothers Studios. And they offered $110 billion for it. They offered $110 billion while firing thousands of people from the companies they bought last year. And recently, the deal's been sort of trying to go through for months. 12 attorneys general, including California's Rob Bonta, filed an antitrust violation lawsuit. In response, Paramount willfully paused the merger, and that's where we are right now. And then shortly after the attorneys general filed a lawsuit, the Writers Guild of America filed their own lawsuit, again on antitrust violations. I'm going to talk a lot about the political side of it, but on the legal side, the attorneys general can't be seen, politicizing this. You're weaponizing your opinions. We don't want to be accused of doing exactly what the fuck the other side is doing, which is politicizing this shit. So they're going to stay on the antitrust side. And I feel compelled to make sure people understand the political and sort of social ramifications of a deal like this.
Okay, so Trump didn't like the editing of a Kamala Harris 60 Minutes interview.
Yes, there was something. It was like the way they edited it made it seem, I can't remember what the specific thing was. And you know what? It was either how they edited Kamala's interview or Trump's interview. I'm pretty sure it was Kamala. But I forget the specifics on what exactly he didn't like about the editing. Who gives a fuck?
At that point, CBS wasn't run by Barry Weiss or the Free Press kind of stuff, right?
No.
He also didn't like that Colbert made fun of him.
Yes. I mean, Trump doesn't like funny people, I think it's safe to say. And Jimmy Kimmel's been writing him for years. Rosie O'Donnell's been writing him for years. And Stephen Colbert also had been. But it was so the deal had been approved. And then Colbert went on and said, that's a bribe. Like he used the word. Right. And then shortly afterwards, he was fired. And CBS said it was because the show was underperforming. And it absolutely wasn't. That was horseshit.
So then Paramount, why does it merge with Skydance to begin with?
So Skydance is a film studio that Larry Ellison bought for his son, failed actor David Ellison. And why did they want to buy Paramount?
Yeah.
A lot of good questions around that. I think, David Ellison, I will say to his credit, does seem to genuinely want to make movies. He's made a bunch, but it was impossible to ignore the fact that Trump had specifically targeted CBS. And then Larry Ellison, who I have heard, when we talk about Trump, it's like he's got allies, but he can't have fucking friends. He's not capable of that level of compassion and care. And I can't imagine anybody. Apparently, I have heard journalists say he and Larry Ellison talk on the phone and like shoot the shit.
Okay.
So that one of his friends bought the studio that owned the news division that he had just spent a lot of time attacking. It's hard to ignore that.
Yeah.
And then to your point, they appointed Bari Weiss, a hack opinion journalist, to run the news division that took down Joseph McCarthy. That's what they gave to this idiot who has called herself an anti-woke crusader.
Yeah.
And she has proceeded to destroy one of the most reputable news divisions in American history.
She's the one who, at the last minute, pulled the reporting on CCOT, the prison concentration camp in El Salvador, claiming that it needed further reporting. I've written about this a bunch. I went to journalism school. You absolutely do not need, like, all of her reasons were not real. And so that's the sort of concern that became apparent there, and people have quit because it reads as state media. So Larry Ellison, billionaire. Do you want to explain what Oracle is?
My IQ on all the tentacles of Oracle is pretty low, but it's got AI, it's running surveillance. And again, this man has said publicly he thinks we'd all be better off if we lived in a surveillance state. So that's the short version. And I wish I knew more about all the things. But I will tell you, one of the things that Oracle has done is Paramount is basically storing its archives on Oracle servers. When you think about AIs absorbing art, and we've heard about companies like buying books so that they can destroy them and then upload them to their AI servers, anything where a media company is using a surveillance company to just partner up, period, has to be scary to us. It's like the media catalog has been uploaded to the Oracle cloud infrastructure. And Oracle's also working on generative AI. Paramount is a legacy studio. They have been making stuff for a century. They have made culturally important shit. And so to know that all of that stuff is in the same server as generative AI, which Hollywood is fighting back against, that's a slippery slope to AI media production.
It makes me think of the idea that these films are uploaded and then could be deleted at any point, unless you have the physical media of it or you've downloaded it or whatever. You won't have it. And also the rewriting of history, in the sense that something gets uploaded and it has different music or a different edit, or something is taken out, various changes that don't reflect the reality of that film. It's a really easy and scary way to take films maybe that had certain messages or that they think are not great for now under fascism, and just like delete.
This had not occurred to me until you just said it, and my heart is racing now, because you're right. The people who are totally fine with canceling critical race theory education, who are totally fine with Trump like attacking the Smithsonian for having exhibits that talk about slavery, for that company to, you're totally right. They could absolutely kill. It'd be like the worst version of Steven Spielberg replacing the guns in ET with walkie-talkies. It just had not occurred to me, because they can go erase, because nobody buys hard media anymore. And everybody watches stuff on streaming. And you're right. Technically, they could just make sure nobody can watch the intended version of, I can't think of a movie that might.
Anything. 12 Years a Slave, anything. Because they change the music when they stream something versus when you have it on DVD. And it, to me, always changes the vibe of the scene, and also changes the intention of when the thing came out and what music was popular at that time, and the art as like historical artifact. You know, is changed. The OC that you're watching or The Sopranos that you're watching is different than the one that I watched when it aired. And that kind of freaks me out a little bit. It is very concerning, just like delete, and then you will never see that again.
Yeah.
It's interesting there. And also, I know that you're talking about it politically. The bribe was, we will buy this so that you don't have to pay out Trump's lawsuit, or that he'll drop.
Paramount wanted to be bought. They're the ones who made the bribe. It wasn't the company wanting to absorb making the bribe. After the writer's strike, Paramount's stock dropped hard. I think they just wanted a sugar daddy, really.
Yeah.
Then you're dealing with redundancies and people getting fired. There's a LA County Board of Supervisors released a report predicting the result of the Paramount WB merger would be thousands of jobs lost across the umbrella of companies they would then own.
So Larry Ellison has two kids, David Ellison and Megan Ellison. You would think if one guy owned all of our media, you would be like, that's a monopoly, but because he divides it between his children, it kind of creates this look of, no, it's not one guy, it's different people, but then it is one family.
Right.
So David owns that, Larry Ellison, and then Megan's also a film producer.
Yeah, she founded Annapurna, which is, I think, Charlize Theron's production company, if I remember correctly. And I don't know anything about her politics. Honestly, I totally forgot until you mentioned it that, right, she's also Ellison's kid.
She's a lesbian, which is confusing. So this is happening. Can you explain, I guess, like what has happened now from that merger, or what's
Sure.
because we know CBS was taken over by like reactionary right-wing lunatics. I just want to point out, and I point this out a lot, the Free Press, which is Barry Weiss's independent journalism, whatever,
Mhm.
newsletter. She courts a lot of famous and rich people. We don't even know if the readership for the Free Press was that big anyway, but kept getting a lot of seed money.
Mhm.
And then she got the job at CBS. And I just want to, one of the more egregious Free Press articles, which if you go look at it, it's wild. But one of the more egregious Free Press articles, just to give people a taste, is they took the reports of Palestinian children who have died in the genocide and they went through them and they wrote up that a lot of them actually had pre-existing conditions. So they actually didn't die from Israel. They died because they were already sick. That's the level of like evil we're dealing with.
Which was the
Anyway,
COVID strategy. Like that's
exactly.
exactly the same shit they did then.
Yeah. Like it was a picture of like a starving child and it was like, yeah, this kid looks starving, but actually they already had leukemia. So
God.
anyway,
People who are paid to do a job were told to do that.
exactly.
Like that's just fucking. I should say really quick, important to note, Bari Weiss's company was the Free Press. There is also Free Press,
Oh
which is a
no.
great organization. They're actually, members of them are part of the coalition that has been pushing to attack the merger. So
Oh
just,
no.
I don't think the logos look the same at all, but just the is the problem.
Yes.
No, you can trust those guys.
Okay. So then what is the next?
Sure.
Like what else is happening?
It's also worth pointing out she has just been fucking 60 Minutes up, and a bunch of people who've left or been fired have announced they are starting their own company.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. They want to keep that spirit alive, and that's great. I hope they have a clear path to doing so, and they get whatever funding they need, et cetera, et cetera. So good on them for not being silenced in all the ways they could have been silenced. What's happened since, I guess, is yes, just Bari Weiss is also like, people have now said she told me to lie.
Yes.
Like that's just documented. The merger, again, like Paramount literally staged a hostile takeover. Like what happened in Succession happened with this, where WB said, no, we don't want this deal. We're going to go with Netflix. And then Paramount raised a ton of money. The Ellisons have only guaranteed 45 billion of the 110 billion. I forget how much money has come from the UAE and Saudi Arabia and Qatar, but they also have a lot of skin in this game. And a big question that's being asked is, as trouble in the Middle East gets worse, how long are they going to be able to guarantee that money, as opposed to, well, we probably need to use it for defense and missiles and shit. So there's another way in which everything could fall apart because that money would just go away. I can't speak to specifics. That's entirely hypothetical, but there's a lot of pieces on the board, and the Ellisons brought in a lot of bad folks to fund this fucking deal, this hostile takeover.
So much money. It's so much money.
Sorry, to go back to your original question, which is sort of where we're at now. The lawsuits were filed. Paramount willfully paused the merger. And the territory we're in now is, so David Ellison wrote an op-ed basically saying, I've voted for people in both parties. I've donated money to people in both parties. You can trust me. I'm not this like single-minded conservative guy. Please let me just go make movies. He said, I guarantee we'll make 30 theatrical films a year. I have guaranteed movie theater chains that there will be 45 days before anything goes video on demand. And again, all that sounds great. That sounds like jobs. That sounds like people will go to the theaters. But you also fucking appointed Bari Weiss to head CBS News. And Larry Ellison is on record telling Trump, if I get CNN, I'll fix that, because we all know CNN has been the number one target for Trump. So for us to trust anything that man said, like, look, Paramount is the studio that has announced they're going to make Rush Hour 4 because Trump asked them to. And the guy who made Rush Hour 4, Brett Ratner, who has multiple sexual assault allegations against him, made the fucking Melania documentary. And there's pictures of him on a couch with Epstein cuddling with a young girl. Don't know how old that girl was, so I can't speak to what was illegal. But for them to approve that, don't even come to us with trust. Just don't even bother. Like Ellison has said, well, the American people are ultimately the arbiter of what news passes the smell test and what they can trust. And I'm like, no, Fox News manipulated its audience for decades. We now know that. They had to settle the lawsuit with Dominion over saying the voting machines were rigged or whatever. And because of that manipulation, A MAGA motherfucker walked into a state senator's house in Michigan and executed her and her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who is aligned with Trump and knows how hard Fox News went for Trump, to suggest that it's on us to decide what movies succeed and what news is listened to it's just insulting. He wrote that letter, that op-ed. He wrote a memo to Paramount staff saying, don't worry, we're going to get this deal done. And then threatened to move Paramount to like Nevada or Kentucky. Don't worry, we're going to get this done and your jobs will still exist. Except I may just move the entire company. And what's he going to do? Offer all those people packages to like leave their lives in Los Angeles to go to another state? It's also preposterous. And Rob Bonta, the California Attorney General, has rightfully called that threat. That's blackmail. Here's the really fun part. For every quarter that the deal is on hold, Paramount has to pay Warner Brothers, I think it's like $1.8 billion. And if you break that down, that's $81 a second.
Okay.
Ellison has told the attorneys general, you need to give me $1.9 billion because that's what this is going to cost me. And you should like make me whole. I have nicely paused the merger for you guys. You now just have to pay me what it's going to cost me to do so. Fuck that motherfucker. It's just like the arrogance of these people to think they can even ask for that, and publicly. And again, this all is coming from a guy whose daddy fucking bought him 2 studios or is trying to buy him a second studio. It's just like, there's no path to taking this man seriously.
What happens if they buy WB? Like, what's the landscape look like?
CNN is clearly a target for them. Guaranteeing that to Trump is how the Trump DOJ says, this isn't an antitrust violation. Go with God. Like, that's the part they need to deliver for him, right?
Yeah.
There is no such thing as media consolidation that doesn't result in the loss of jobs. It just, that's the history of it. That's how it works. That's the whole point, is we will consolidate. We will, because then there's redundant, every film studio has the same departments. You're not going to have like 2 distribution departments. You're going to merge them, and then people will lose their jobs. Paramount projects that there will be a $6 billion cut in expenses over 3 years if the merger goes through. $6 billion of work. $6 billion of jobs. Like there's no way to frame that other than we save $6 billion by giving less money to employees, period. And this is at the same time that studios are buying AI companies. Fucking Ben Affleck, after telling us for years, AI is bad, created this company, sold it to Netflix. And in the patent for his AI company, it breaks down what percentage of different departments for film production would be cut. It is in the patent that he's going to kill jobs.
Not my boy, Ben.
I know.
My boy, Ben.
I know. He really seemed like an ally. And the video of him defending it to people is so insulting. It's kind of like, do you know what the auteur theory is?
No.
So the auteur theory was created, I think, in the 30s or 40s. It basically says the director is the author of the film. As if you can compare one writer sitting at a desk and like talking to one editor with a director managing a set full of people, post-production, all that. It's a ridiculous theory. I apologize to film nerds who think it's great. If you watch the interview where Ben Affleck defends his company, he keeps talking about how AI will let me serve my idea better. It will let me do more human work. And he says human work as if human and human interaction isn't what's important. It's what the human feels, what the filmmaker feels. I get to focus on that more because I can fix the lighting with AI. I can set the shot. There's this new thing called gray screen where basically actors are on a gray set. The basic furniture that they need to touch is in the room, and everything else is designed by AI. The set, extras, like you can see it. It just looks like, oh, they're just doing green screen and they're going to create everything. That's what these people want to end countless careers. And again, David Ellison or Larry Ellison has his hands in AI and he wants to absorb a media company. It's all connected. And I am not saying Ben Affleck is like the Ellisons. I would never dare insult your baby like that. But you can't get around this, is that this will kill careers. I do just want to make this clear. This is also a MAGA issue. This is a red state issue. There's a lot of film production in red states. Texas has a huge tax incentive. Louisiana used to have a big one. Georgia became the Hollywood of the South. Georgia's not MAGA. Sorry, Georgia, you're killing it these last couple election cycles. But people who think this is a Hollywood liberal issue, it is not. It is a national issue. There's jobs all over the country that will be affected by this merger. But to speak to Hollywood and California, so many people have left the industry in the last few years because it's just getting harder to get work. So many people have left California because we're the most expensive fucking state in the country. That after the 2030 census, California is on track to lose 4 congressional seats.
Oh.
And we cannot afford to lose 4 lockdown blue congressional seats in the political climate we live in right now. So as far as just California, like, pay attention. This is much bigger picture than just people get to keep making movies.
Right. It's people living here.
Yeah.
Who can afford to live here, who have their jobs here.
Yeah.
You're right. Film production is in all different states. All different people work on shoots. There's like incentives to shoot in Illinois and things like that that you would be losing.
Yeah.
So it is a huge job. The numbers are staggering. $1.8 billion to be on hold is.
Yeah. By the time the trial starts, it will have been $7 billion that they have to pay Warner Brothers.
Just solve hunger. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's so wild to me.
Yeah.
But it's very tempting, irresistible power. They would own all of this. They would own CNN. So then the issue is there's no mainstream legacy media that is in opposition to other legacy media, truly.
How do you mean exactly?
They own CBS, they own CNN, they own Fox. So then there's no like, this is a liberal paper. Bezos owning the Washington Post. It all becomes part of one. You're just going to get one form of a story. Or if you get 2 forms of a story, it's controlled opposition against each other. They want the Republicans and the Democrats to fight. So they're going to start that with their media companies by seeming like, oh, we're on this side and we're on this side.
Yeah. And to say nothing of the other side of this, which is how the FCC has been coming after news stations to threaten to pull their license because Jimmy Kimmel makes too much fun of Trump. The FCC just voted there was this rule that said national TV ownership by one entity has to max out at 39% to prevent somebody from holding 50% of a company and being the dominant shareholder. They just got rid of that cap, even though they don't have the authority to do so. But they want their cronies to buy up as much of media as possible. There's already, I forget the name of the company that owns local TV stations, like the amount what's it called?
Sinclair
writes scripts to give to reporters all over the country. That's the territory we're getting into just on the news media side. I don't know if the Ellisons are a part of that at all, but to your point, like, they're all the same conservative monster with a different face and a different name to their company. So that's the other side of this that we're dealing with.
So here's my concern with the Ellisons is it's this fear, and I had people push back on me on this, and there are other people that have pushed back on this, and Boots Riley himself has pushed back on this, and I know I'm using I Love Boosters as an example, but it is a movie about activism. It's a very progressive, I would say anti-fascist, anti-capitalist movie. And a lot of people have said, we got to separate it. Like, Boots Riley makes this stuff and like, it's not fair. He needs money to make his stuff. Totally. I cannot love the movie and divorce myself from the fact that it is put out by Megan Ellison.
Yeah.
She is a producer on that film. So to me, anything like that, the message is null and void to me. I know a lot of people disagree. The message to me is null and void because there's no way Megan Ellison is putting out something that she thinks is actually going to cause revolution.
Right.
There's no way that people are putting out, I mean, the movie, and there's movies that I absolutely love. I think their messages are great. I think they've taught me so much. They were put out by Harvey Weinstein. We cannot say that is irrelevant because he probably put stuff in there that was like misogynistic, or that he wouldn't approve something that was not something that he approved of. Yeah. So like, to me, Megan Ellison watches I Love Boosters and says yes to putting it out. Why? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And again, I don't know much about her politics, but I'll do you one better. Did you see Boots Riley's show, I Am a Virgo, that came out a couple years ago?
I didn't.
This is, for me, top 10 miniseries of all time, made by Amazon. And I think I was able to watch it because had I canceled my Amazon yet, or I got screener DVDs or something, and you can't get around it. And here's the really important point, and you've teed me up for the thing I want to talk about the most, which is, did you see Ava DuVernay's movie, The Origin? It came out a few years ago.
I didn't.
It's a really incredible movie where it was based on a book. Wanted to get to like the baseline of racism.
Yeah.
And it got to like really start with classism. Like, that's if you really go all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
And she funded it by going to NGOs and advocacy orgs that were aligned with that statement. And that's how she funded the movie. So Hollywood made sure she got no nominations. Like they didn't want the world to know that she did that. I remember reading about that going, oh my God, it's all going to change now. Because this is Ava DuVernay. I think Selma is one of the most underrated movies of all time. She's a fucking genius. Everything she makes is good. And she was at the height of her powers then. Oscar nominee. She won some Emmys for Netflix stuff. And I got so fucking excited. And then I haven't heard of anybody even trying it again. To that point, until A-listers, filmmakers, talent who generate a lot of revenue, who are bulletproof in that regard. There was a letter that I signed, that thousands of industry members signed, a letter sort of strong opposition to the merger. And I work with the people who wrote the letter. It's incredible advocates. They're fighting hard, but it is the most sternly worded letter, nothing burger I've read in a long time. It was a lot of verbs about like, this is what the Paramount deal will do to our town. And it ended with, we're so glad somebody's doing something about this. And somebody referred to Rob Bonta. And until the people who really dominate this industry and generate the revenue announce none of us will work with Paramount or Warner Brothers, until they come out and stand their ground like that, that letter means nothing. It's symbolism to the nth degree. The secondary aspect of that is, you know, Charlie Chaplin and other artists, they took over United Artists back in the whatever year that was. They made it a artist-run studio. And somebody said George Clooney should buy Warner Brothers if the deal falls through. And I was like, you know what? I could get behind that conversation because, you know, these filmmakers who just generate tons of money and they get the awards, maybe they aren't talking about, let's go raise capital and start our own studio and make the rules. Like James Gunn taking over DC Studios is a step in that direction. He's still beholden to Warner Brothers, which would be beholden to Paramount, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember when I would pitch this to people, they'd say, nobody's going to do that. They want to keep being filmmakers. And James Gunn, since taking over DC Studios, has directed films and directed TV. Like, he's not selling short his talent and his desire to do that. So until I hear that these people are talking about shit like that, and I probably wouldn't hear about it, they'd want that to stay on the QT, as it were, I won't believe that the industry members are truly ready to fight this fight the way it needs to be fought. I'll give you an example. My very first writer's strike was the 2007 writer's strike. At that point, I think it was the second longest there had ever been. My dad is also a screenwriter, so I grew up with union health insurance, which was lovely. And he told me that the top showrunners at the time, and this was 2007, I forget what the like biggest hit shows were. Apparently, they were having these backroom meetings to discuss when the strike ends, fuck them, let's go start our own studio. And that was very exciting to hear like rumblings about. It felt like, we're operating on a different level. We're not just going to play the game and get our meager allowances for, you can get 2 cents more on residuals and come back to work. And the moment the strike ended, they all ran back to their shows. And again, I can't speak to the details. I think it was happening, but I can't speak to what was being discussed. But that is the mindset that has to exist right now. And again, if it's being talked about, it's probably good. I don't know it's being talked about. So, dear Hollywood, I hope it's being talked about.
People they think they have less power than they do.
Yeah. I mean, look, on the episode where you and I already talked about this, or on the episode you're going to hear next, everybody, we talked a lot about people just not being willing to put their money where their mouth is, or take the extra step, or risk a sacrifice that might affect their lives by really doing what needs to be done on the activism front. This is the same principle, is if you truly want to save the industry, if you truly want to save the unions, because that's honestly, for me, film studios have been trying to kill the unions since we had the audacity to make them. They just want serfdom. They want the feudal state. They want actors to have long-term deals and exclusive, and, they want all of that again. If the people who generate a lot of revenue and benefit from that really want to save the unions and protect the working class of the industry, they will start taking steps like this, or at least threatening it, like posture, go make a show of it at least, and be willing to follow through. But like, that's, until I see that shit, I don't think we're actually fighting fire with fire yet.
There's so many small things that famous people do, book clubs, owning restaurants, wellness, that coming together and saying we're going to own a studio, to me, doesn't feel that far-fetched.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Because they pool their money into other stuff.
Yeah. Like, they can raise capital based on, here's the box office I've generated. Imagine if I ran a studio and I was the one picking which movies would get made. I mean, look, I'm a screenwriter. The more I speak out against this, the more I know I'm hurting my career. But development hell is called hell for a reason. Every development process I've been through, I swear to God, at least one development executive has said, look, we know we're the dummies and you guys are the geniuses and we're just here to help. And every time they say that, I'm like, you opening with this now makes me think you're dummies. And I'm not coming to that with this. I'm expecting good notes. I'm expecting care and compassionate, like we want to see your vision, but also we think we can make your vision better and more marketable. That's the bag. Like that's what we're trying to do together. So the idea of a studio run by artists, I mean, that's nirvana to people in this industry, that James Gunn is making decisions at the level he is making them. I like knowing that that's happened, regardless of how you feel about the quality of the stuff. It's great that he is in that position of power and it's not a fucking development person or industry person. It's very encouraging. Like James Seamus used to run a production company, and like knowing that a screenwriter of that caliber who wrote Ice Storm and Crouching Tiger was in charge. I mean, it's a big studio owned them, but like that was his company. And Focus Features was when Miramax like, yeah, fuck them, that guy's gross. Focus Features picked up that torch and ran with it beautifully and still does to some degree. James isn't a part of it anymore, but like that shit is possible. It could also be possible on the gigantic blockbuster level.
Yeah.
People just have to be willing to take that leap and go for it.
It's so scary to see how much power movies and TV have over the way people think.
Yes.
And how much the villains in movies are based on who the US is fighting at any given time. Russia, China, terrorists that are vaguely Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And then pushing the narrative of police being amazing, police being great. I just saw the end of Oak Street, and
I have not seen it yet. I heard
no
the
spoilers.
ending's crazy. Okay, great.
No spoilers.
Great.
I loved it, but there was an interesting conversation on Reddit where people were upset that it was unrealistic, that people weren't helping each other more in the community. And my takeaway is, you believe that things happen in movies, you think that that's real. But we saw with COVID, I'm sorry, barely anyone cared about anyone during COVID. They still don't.
Yeah.
Barely anyone followed protocols. They were mad to follow protocols. People died that didn't need to die. Like the idea that you think people would, in a mass situation, do anything that inconveniences or sacrifices themselves. And maybe there are a few heroes, quote unquote. For you to think that that's the norm and that the average person would do this is wild at this point. And also the idea that the heroes of the film, that's what they would do, is a way for you to say, well, that's what I would do. But it's not what you would do. And that's what you expect to happen in a film, but it's not what you would do because you barely gave a shit about COVID. You still barely give a shit about people who are disabled or have immunocompromised. I'm not perfect at that, I will admit. You don't care about your neighbors getting taken. There's one scene where they're running and the whole neighborhood hasn't figured out what's happening yet. And only some of them have. The other people are just like doing their lives, not even looking up. People are like, but everyone would pool together and pool their supplies, and if there was a big group of them, they could fight together. They're like, it's unrealistic. Maybe what you think is unrealistic.
Yeah.
So the idea that everyone would come together in that situation, I think creates the idea for them that nothing is that serious unless it requires everyone to come together. And so it's kind of a reactionary idea rather than a proactive idea, because they've seen so many films where everyone bonds together and becomes heroes when it gets really bad. Unless that's happening, what's happening can't be that bad.
I would say that circumstantially, you can't do a blanket statement of anybody would help anybody or nobody would help anybody. Certain neighborhoods, like I remember the bright spot of COVID was, and you saw it a few times, where like an entire neighborhood came together to thank the UPS driver who was giving them all their, like shit like that was beautiful. And that's not saving anybody, but yes, it is very important to make sure it's understood that movies aren't real.
Right. But movies have so much power to show the police are good, to show that Middle Eastern people are bad, to show that women need to be subjugated. It's got so much power over the way that we think, more so than what we see in our real lives.
You're right. A big part of this, and it's, you know, like I said, Bonta coming at the merger on antitrust violations and people like me focusing on the political side. In the middle, is democracy is at risk. Free speech is at risk. If fewer people own more shit, just I don't care how good, well-intentioned they are, the chances of diversity of voices getting cut is just, it's unavoidable. As far as film and TV is a pillar of democracy, period. And we need to treat it that way, which is why when you see stuff like you're talking about, it's either lazy or propaganda or a combination of both. You know, like, oh, we need bad guys. Who's the bad guy this week? I will say, we never make China the bad guys because if Hollywood villainized China the way the industry and films screened in China, like Hollywood is afraid of China and will never go after them. It's just, the Red Dawn reboot, they filmed it for China and then like, shit, we got to make it North Korea. And they did all these reshoots. But democracy, we do have to respect the place we hold in the conversation that revolves around free speech. And you're totally right. When you see films that just have bad takes on that stuff, that's scary. But the other side of it is like, movies aren't real. And if a character doesn't behave the way you would behave, I feel bad for you that you can't appreciate a movie unless the characters do what you do. I'm sorry you don't have the experience I have when I watch a movie.
But it just makes me so scared and skeptical of anything that I see that I go, why now? Why are they showing this to me?
Yes.
Why am I being shown even well-intentioned stuff? I'm sure. I'm like, yes, I'm being shown this, but why? And The Matrix is one of my favorite movies. I guess spoilers for The Matrix. When you find out that Neo is actually controlled opposition, then to me, it was like, finding out like, oh, the Matrix movies are also controlled. You know what I mean? Like I was like, holy shit. And I love the Wachowskis. I love them so much. But it's so it makes it so hard for me to not question, why am I being shown this? For example, are there any movies coming out that are like distinctly anti-Nazi?
It's funny. Yes. And I won't see this movie because Paramount is distributing it. And I forget what it's called, but Mark Wahlberg and the actor who played Wonder Man, that Marvel show. It's a movie and it's based on a true story. There was a black FBI agent who was targeting the KKK and he needed help. So they bring in a mafia hitman played by Mark Wahlberg. And in the trailer, you see, I think at least 2 white supremacists get. And I was like, man, if there's 2 in the trailer, there's going to be a lot of them getting killed in this movie. And so that is a targeting white supremacists. And it's being distributed by the fucking studio that wants to make the white supremacists in the White House have more control of the media.
It shows them see the white supremacists look like white supremacists.
Okay.
The ones that, you know what I mean? Okay, this is, we're getting really into
okay,
dumb
no,
shit.
I like this. I like
But
this.
okay, so Taylor Swift's music video for You Need to Calm Down. It was like every gay celebrity's in it. The whole video is very like, you know, don't be mad at gay people, like shut up. And the bad guys in that music video are Hicks and their signs are misspelled and they're like Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. What was interesting around that time, she's good friends with Karlie Kloss, who's married to a Kushner. Kushners are in the White House through Ivanka. So to me, I was like, this behooves Taylor Swift to point out that these people are actually who are bad, is these low income, uneducated Hicks.
Right.
When in actuality, the fascists that are causing the problems for gay people are in suits.
Yeah.
They're very educated, actually.
Yeah.
I've lost my fucking mind, Jake.
You're holding it together very well, in my opinion.
Nothing is real. Everything is propaganda, which you know what? It is. And judging by these mergers, it's like, yes, we should be on that page. We should be thinking like that, I guess.
In my opinion, the worst part about all of this, just dealing with Trump and conservative takeovers and other governments, is we are not talking about the fact that there are now predictions that I forget if it's by 2050 or 2080, half the world's population will be dead because of climate crisis. Every continent's on fire. The predictions, the increased predictions for actually we're going to hit 3 degrees by 30 years sooner than we thought we were. That we are being distracted from that fight and that conversation. In my mind, that's really big picture goal because they're building their bunkers while denying that society collapse is not their fault. That's the undercurrent of all of this. And they want to hoard the resources so we can't fight back when food crops start dying and when shortages hit the grocery shelves. They really do want to make sure, I think they want to make sure a lot of us die so that what's left is they can go get more of it. Like, and all of this is be too busy shitting on the press secretary because she's mean, you know, than supporting a Sunrise Movement and Extinction Rebellion and all of these incredible organizations that are putting their bodies on the line to make sure we know if we don't change it up, we're all going to be fucked much sooner than we thought we were going to be fucked. And that it's just like the calendar's moving up and we're still not doing any. And obviously, look, the idea that your carbon footprint is the problem, that was probably propaganda. It's the fucking government. It's agriculture needing to be limited. I remember when I moved to LA, I started taking like shorter showers, and my friend was like, "You fucking idiot. It's the almond farms that take up more water than they should." And so anyway, that's not to divert this conversation too much, but ultimately we're not having the most important conversation.
Yeah, look into the Resnicks.
Please look into the Resnicks.
Katie and I just went to the Hammer Museum. They've got a big, I think they're like called the Resnick Room or something. I go into the museum and it's all of this like indigenous art and art. There's a lot of art by Black people and there's a lot of really wonderful exhibits. In the back of my mind, I'm like, this is the Resnicks though. This is the Resnicks. I don't know that they have quite a hand in choosing, but I'm also like, what are they allowing us to see? I'm probably wrong. So what is the call to action for you, for everyone, now that you've said all of this? Like, what do we need to do?
The small thing, and I really, I push a lot of call actions to like, give your reps marching orders, and like, if they vote the wrong way, like, let them know, like, if you keep voting this way, I'm going to find other representation. At the same time, we do need to thank them when they do the right thing. So if your AG is one of those 12 AGs, please call their office and say, thank you for sticking up for the industry, which supports people across the country. Like, they have to know we appreciate when they're on the right side of issues. That is a minor thing, but I do think not enough of us do that. We have to keep the pressure up on Paramount. We have to, again, look, the Ellisons are rich. They don't care about the money. Larry Ellison's net worth dropped from like 300 billion to 194 billion in the last 12 months. He's fine. They're not doing this for the money. They're putting up $110 billion for the deal. $7 billion penalty fee is not going to scare them off. Cancel Paramount Plus. Don't go to see Paramount theatrical releases. Again, like, it's not symbolically, these things are important. They need to know we care enough. People who can't give up on content that they love or the fact that the content you love is being generated by monsters, if that's not enough for you to make the quote unquote sacrifice, then you need to seriously reevaluate your relationship to content and comfort. You just do. While towns in Indiana are suffering week-long blackouts and you can't get behind like not being able to watch your favorite Showtime show anymore, Showtime, which is owned by Paramount. That's a problem that's going to hurt all of us. So the boycotts are not the silver bullet, but they are, if we're all doing that as a community, it does show them that we care enough to like remove things from our life that we care about for the greater good. Procter & Gamble is the biggest sponsor of CBS News. They make a ton of fucking products that run ads. We need to boycott those products and call and say, I will not be using your product as long as you sponsor CBS News. If millions of us were doing all of those things at the same time and being loud about it, that changes the cultural conversation. And the cultural conversation is an important aspect of this because Warner Brothers and Paramount have been two massive players in culture for the last century. These are remarkable companies that have made important shit, that have employed thousands and thousands of people. Like, the cultural conversation is as much a part of this as the political and the economic. So those are the small things to do. Direct action is the way. I was there the day 500 people showed up to block the gates at Disney to defend Jimmy Kimmel's job. And I was also there every Wednesday for 8 months when I couldn't get more than 20 people to come picket outside the Paramount gates and protect democracy and free speech and the pro-Palestinian movement. That is annoying as fuck. I don't understand why I couldn't translate one to the other, but direct action matters. We should be out in the streets, even if it is just picketing, even if it is just waving signs. They need to look out the windows and see we are mad enough to take time out of our day, away from our families, away from work opportunities, to just make sure they know we don't approve, and we're going to do everything we can to stop them. That is so crucial. And it's hard unless it's the big fucking city. Like, we watch what Minneapolis is doing and what New York does against ICE. I'm like, yeah, those are smaller, denser communities, and ICE can't take somebody on New York without 50 people being around to see it. But Los Angeles needs to go the extra mile because this is where the studios are. We just have to be more diligent about being out there and doing this shit. Phone calls are great. Boycotts are great. They're important pieces of the puzzle, but they are just pieces of the puzzle.
You were apologizing for talking so much, but it's very eloquent. Obviously, that's why I have you on here.
Great.
So
success.
Thank you so much. And where can people find you if they want to find you?
I guess Instagram's, I can only handle one social media account. I'm at Jake VAH at Instagram. And I just use that to push call actions, and I try to track legislations and write call scripts. So all you have to do is pick up the phone, dial the number, read what I wrote, and hang up. It'll take 60 seconds of your life to fight for legislation that could affect millions of people's lives. I am a member of Working Families Party. If anybody wants to know about the actions we're involved with or the honest to God progressive candidates we support at every level of government, at states across the country, Instagram's a good way to get to me because we're always looking to increase membership and support those candidates who, if we got enough of them in office at the federal, local, and state level of government, there is a path to fixing a lot of this shit. As a buddy of mine likes to say, when your car's driving towards a cliff and you know the car's going over the cliff, you still hit the brakes to like give you a chance to like get out of the car. Like you do something. Climate crisis is going to fuck us up. We blew that, but we can still, there's small ways to make sure that we protect ourselves against the full breadth of the catastrophe as possible. This is talking to your neighbors, community gardens, find ways to barter, like go to repair fairs instead of taking your stuff. There are all these things that exist in the mutual aid space, and the people who do them are trying to be loud about it, but we can all be louder and people can be listening to that more.
Have you seen the thing about South Park is responsible for climate change because of how much they made fun of Al Gore? That's like a new discourse.
Oh my God. Was that Man Bear Pig? Al
Yeah,
Gore?
so people are now demanding a response from Matt Parker and Trey Stone. And you know what? That goes along with what we're saying. Yeah, it is their fault. I'm just joking. God.
For every Al Gore joke, there were 10 scientists chaining themselves to the front doors of banks to say, stop giving these people your fucking money. They're burning us
Exactly.
alive. Anyway, I think South Park made up for it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Either this is the end of Jake or we'll see Jake another time.
Can't wait. This has been lovely fun.
Bye. A Thousand Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast is hosted by me, Gabe Dunn, and edited by me, Gabe Dunn. Theme song by Zach Sherwin and Sam Barbera. Love you guys. Bye.